Hi, welcome to Heart Find Studio. I'm Rose and I'm here today to share with you number 22 in the How to Botanical collaboration hosted by RachandBella Crafts. Today we're going to talk about ideas for bookmarks, creating bookmarks for your botanical journals. The sky is the limit when it comes to bookmarks. There's so many different ideas out there. Today we're going to talk about the traditional size of bookmarks, or traditional shape, and usually those are 2 inches wide and anywhere from 6 to 8 inches long. And this isn't a bookmark, it's just an idea of something you can do. This is just a piece of cardboard. You can actually, if there's this paper on both sides, you can peel it off of one side and you can paint it, ink it, or in this case, I think it looks cool just leaving it plain and adding one of these beautiful pictures, this digital kit that Rachel has in her RachandBella Crafts has in their Etsy shop. I just cut it down and I'm going to stitch around it, the picture, and then glue it on here. And then punch a little hole for the tassel and you have instant bookmarks. That's just one idea that's very quick and easy to do. Another idea is to use all of your beautiful collaged masterboards. If you've been practicing or getting rid of your scraps and adding them to a collage board, a masterboard, just cut a piece off to make a bookmark. This one, I had lots of black and white paper, so I had a masterboard with all kinds of black and white prints on it. And I took and glued it. Actually, I think it was, I already had it glued onto this watercolor paper. It was a scrap of watercolor paper. And I just touched it up with some ink. You can tell from this part that's not done yet. I just used some ink like on the berries and chalk markers and touched up some cheesecloth and added for backing. And then I added this beautiful ribbon that I had found a few months ago that I really love. I added that on to just add a little bit of accent and some stickers. And when I use the stickers, I always go ahead and put some of my art glitter glue or any kind of glue really on the back so that they will stick, because some of my stickers are really old and the glue's not that trustworthy on the back of them. And then I just kind of wound my ribbon around and stapled it at the top. It's a very simple and quick bookmark and a great way to use up your collage masterboard. Also, while I was playing around, I made this cute little tassel with this ribbon. I really like how it turned out. The only problem is it's a little bit large, I think, for my bookmark. So I have to use it on something else. I might use it as a dangle inside my botanical journal. I'm not sure yet what I'll do with it. But it's fun. Just playing around making tassels, and I took the ribbon and just unwound it and added a few beads. It was very simple and fun. The next bookmark I'd like to show you is an embossed bookmark. I had an old piece of yellow, kind of a gaudy yellow cardstock. You can see a little bit of the edge right there, and I really didn't like it and didn't use it. And I found that, and I thought, well, maybe if I emboss it, it'll look better. So I did a little bit of embossing with, I think it was the Tim Holtz lace embossing folder. And then I added some distress ink. If you aren't familiar with distress ink, there's Tim Holtz has some, and Ranger ink has some great colors and distress inks, and you just spray them on your paper, just experiment and play, and then spray some a little bit of water and let them kind of flow around, and you have some very fun backgrounds to work on. There's lots of good videos, tutorials on those on YouTube if you're interested in that. And also, in case you don't want to invest in the sprays, there's recipes on YouTube too of making your own sprays. I haven't tried that yet, but I think it's a great idea. And then I couldn't resist. I've been trying not to buy extra supplies because we're getting ready to move and I didn't need anything else to pack up. But when I saw these foundry waxes, I thought, wow, I have all those medals and buttons that I don't use because I don't like the color. This might save me some money, and I am very happy with it. I think eventually it will. This is actually the first thing I've tried it on because I just got it, and I love how it just adds little touches. This one is a Foundry Wax Mind by Ranger Ink, and Tim Holtz has a wonderful tutorial on that. Introduction to it on YouTube. And then you just add it on. You can use your finger, a brush, but there is a little bit of a learning curve to it, so I would advise you, if you get it, to definitely watch his videos. But then you dry it, and it with the dryer, and it just heat, and it just instantly, it really only takes seconds for the color to just pop out. Just gorgeous and fun to do. But I would suggest that you watch his video before you purchase it to see if it's something you're interested in. I will say one reason I'm happy with it is that I do have some lung problems, and I have tried some waxes in the past that the fumes really bothered me. But the fumes aren't bad at all. I really hardly noticed them. I did have the fan on for ventilation, good ventilation when I used it, but it really wasn't bad. And then also on this one, I used the wonderful ideas from, I think it was 49 Butterflies and Tracie Fox, and I think some others that have done some of the day's collaborations have given ideas on great ways to use thread to embellish and add accent to your cards and embellishments. But this is one that I loved, was the idea of just curling the thread around. So if you haven't watched those videos, especially watch those first two, because they have a lot on there about how to add little thread embellishments. And then I just used a little piece of fabric behind that, and I used my Distress ink to kind of age it a little bit. And to do that, I just used my dauber and just kind of dab it on a little bit. Very simple and quick. And then I did use, I think, art glitter glue. I used my art glitter glue to glue this on, and it worked just fine. And inside, I like the little surprise inside. I put a little few journaling pages that I hand stamped, and added some fabric at the top. And I didn't even stitch that fabric on because I didn't want it to show on the back. I guess I could have stitched it anyway and glued it on. That's a good idea in case you do want to do your stitching and then glue it onto your cardstock. But I didn't do that. I just glued it on, and then I used this cute little card that I had. It was a little quote I'd had in somewhere. I don't even know where I got it because I think I've had it for a while. But it says, "The secret garden bloomed and bloomed." And I just love that. Like, that's neat to just open this up, and then that's what they're going to see, and they'll see the flowers and butterflies. And I think anybody that likes Botanical likes the idea of a secret garden. So, just a fun idea. And you could even, when you tie this, you could add some little dangles to it. Or if you don't want it, you could even add an eyelet right here. And then knot some ribbon through it or string, and then tie it around. But this was just a quick and easy way to do it, and kind of matched it's the same fabric I have underneath the flower. Lots of ways you can do it, and you could use embossing powder instead of the inks and the foundry wax, or you could just emboss and leave it plain. Lots of different ideas that I'm sure you'll come up with to try for that one. And then our next one that we're going to talk about is the fabric covered bookmark. This was really fun to do. I got to try out the great stitching techniques that Tracie Fox has in the #2 collaboration for the How To Botanical. And also I took this button, it was an ugly little button, and I just took some of my Distress Oxide ink. I think I used both of these colors on it. And I also think I used, I think I might have even used some of my other just regular distress ink besides the oxide, some other colors in it. And I just started moving the button around in those colors, and then I let it dry, and then I buffed it out a little bit with, I love to use dryer sheets. After they come out of the dryer, I save them in a tissue box. And then I just pull those out when I need to buff something, especially if I'm using chalk markers on a project or inks that I just want to make sure I get everything off that might come off on our beautiful journal pages. And that works great. And they're also just great for cleanup too. So how I printed this was I used some Astra Bright cardstock. This is a very lightweight cardstock. I wanted my bookmarks to be very flexible and lightweight, so they'd be easy to tuck in an envelope or put even on thin pages in a journal. So I used very lightweight cardstock. This one is Astra Bright. I ordered from Amazon, and it is 176 grams or 65-pound cardstock, very light. And I took that cardstock and I just added some temporary glue to it. And oh, there it is. You can use the glue I use, they're not making anymore, but I know that this is a good one to use. This is Eileen's temporary glue, and it's in a stick, so very easy to use. And you just take that and take your, oops, excuse me, you take your cardstock and just kind of put it around on different places in your cardstock. Don't even have to cover all the cardstock, just kind of make, especially do a strip here and a strip here, both at the top and bottom, and then a few places around on the sheet of paper. And then after you do that, you just take your fabric and lay it out on there. I used just very cheap cotton muslin. I think I bought this at Joann's, just very inexpensive muslin. I didn't iron it. It works great without ironing it. I just spread it out there and kind of smoothed it out with my hands on the paper. This was actually the first time I did it, and it was so easy that I know I'll be doing it more. And I kind of started, I left a little bit of edge on both sides, at the top of my paper and the bottom of my paper. I didn't take the fabric all the way down. And then I just smoothed it out, and that glue, temporary glue, kept it in place very nicely. Make sure the ends are smoothed out real well. And then I just ran it through my printer. My printer was a very cheap old printer. It is Hewlett-Packard OfficeJet 5222. It's actually my husband's printer. I think he paid about $50 for a couple years ago on sale. My printer broke, so I'm having to use his right now. And it works great in that. Now, I did see a video that Rachel from Roxy's Creations, who is also, by the way, Rachel from Roxy Creations also is doing a video today for the collaboration. So I hope you'll be sure and check that out, because she's very talented, and especially talented with fabrics to use in your journals. And she had a wonderful tutorial about a year ago on how to print fabric on your printer. So if you've never done it before, I suggest you go look at Roxy Creations tutorial on printing fabric on an inkjet printer. Now, I don't have a laser printer, so that would be a whole different story. I'm not sure about that, but her tutorial is very helpful. I didn't quite do everything the way she did. I was just experimenting with this with some other things that I had read too, but it was so easy and quick, and And the only thing that I had a problem with was I touched it before it was dry. So it does take, I would say, leave it for a good hour, maybe, just on the safe side, to make sure it's good and dry before you touch it, because I kind of smeared it a little bit. And then I think the printer smeared it also, maybe, but I don't care because I like that kind of distressed look anyway, and a rustic look. So I didn't mind the black smears, but if you mind that, you might experiment with that too, and see how, and look around. But I really don't have them except on the sides there, so, and you could cut that part off, but there's probably some good tips on that. You can see my fingerprint though where I touched it before it was dry. And then after it was dry, this is actually the one I used, and I just took my my simple cutter, and I just cut out. It cuts really well on with the fabric did, because it's so thin, and I just cut out my 2 by 7 inch bookmark. And then I also used a corner punch on the corners. That worked good too. Now I do have, I think I have the corner chomper, so that's what I used to do the corners. And then I stitched around it. It was so much fun just playing with the stitching. I think number 2 video is the one where Tracie gives you all kinds of great tips on how to stitch on fabric and cardstock for your journals. And so this, I watched that video, and it inspired me to just play around and do a little bit of stitching on here. I did a little bit of distress ink also on the lace that I use for the tab, just to blend it in and match the kind of rustic theme. But I left all the strings. I like that look of leaving the strings. Added a little cheesecloth. I colored the cheesecloth. I just took my blender brush and just applied a little bit of ink to the cheesecloth, and then glued it behind my butterfly. And you could even, if you don't like the stitching showing, you could cover that up with more fabric, or and glue it on, or you could use cardstock and put on the back. If you don't, I just kind of like the seeing the stitching, so that was all right with me to see it. And also, if I was trying to catch the blue flowers in this, so I was using the blue thread, plus it was already what was in my sewing machine, so maybe being a little lazy too. But I thought that I do like this, but I think in the future, if I do more, that contrasting thread does look much better, because it really highlights the border on your bookmark. So I would suggest that you experiment with that and try using contrasting thread too for highlighting on your bookmarks with sewing. So that was a very easy project there. And now on to our next one, which is the masking tape bookmark. I'll make sure I got this one out. Yes. Okay. Put this all up out of the way. The masking tape bookmark was one that I just accidentally came across. I was playing around. I think I was actually trying to close some of my boxes that I was stuffing things in that were too full. And I found this masking tape that I'd had for, I think, a couple years. And when you start getting into junk journaling, your mind works in a different way, most definitely. Because all of a sudden, and I've used masking tape before and I never thought this, but all of a sudden I thought, wow, I really like that texture on the masking tape. Wouldn't that be a cool bookmark? And I think most masking tapes have this, but it has a crepe paper backing, which makes it for a really cool texture. So I thought, let me try this and see if I can make bookmarks with it. And I'm happy with how they turned out. I used one book page. Now, if you wanted them thicker, you could use a thicker paper. But as I said, I like the lightweight, flexible bookmarks, especially I like the fabric bookmarks, and to me this kind of reminds me of fabric bookmarks because it's very flexible and you could use it easily on thin pages and it wouldn't harm your pages at all. But I just used a page from a book, and I don't even know what this book was, and I just used the index pages. I think it was a, I think it might have been a old quotation book. I'm not sure, and it was an old book, so the pages were already yellowed. And then I just cut out my 2x6 with the cutter. I just cut out my paper at 2x6 on the cutter with the cutter, and I guess I'll do that so I can show you real quick how I made these. They are so simple and fun to do. So, let's see. I want to get that index in there, so I think we'll start over here. Just make them 2 inches. Help if I put my paper straight. And 7 inches. Well, you could make them 6 inches. You can do whatever size works for your journal. And you could ink beforehand, but I was going to ink afterwards. The ink stays on this masking tape really well, so I was surprised at that. But so I just left it and didn't ink until afterwards. And I use a little bit of extra tape at the top and the bottom so that you can fold it over. It gives you a little bit more support on the top and the bottom, and also a little bit more support for punching your hole. So I just measured it off. Just kind of eyed it. Doesn't have to even be straight. Then you just center it on there and tape it on. Kind of follow the side, one side to get it on straight. And then what I did was use my brayer to make sure that it got sealed on real well. Fold it over, which I could have done beforehand, I just forgot. Okay, and then do the other side. Make sure that you kind of get both sides covered. There you go. If it's a little bit off, it's no problem because we can just trim it off. I had to on some of the others. It was no problem. Okay. So then you can just kind of eyeball it and see if it needs trimmed in some places, which this one does. You don't want any sticky parts on the side. This side looks pretty good. So just run your finger over it and make sure there's no sticky parts. And then I'm gonna go make sure it's sealed real good. And I made these others several days ago, and they're doing great. So I just think it works really well for this project. And then I just took some ink, inked it up. Much or little as you want. Use whatever color you want to. You could even stamp ahead of time. You could stamp on the paper before you put the masking tape on and fancy it up that way if you wanted to. But this doesn't rub off. It's really, once it's on there and dries, it's on there. And then what I did with these, I'll show you a few that I made. Here. I'll show you the ones that I liked that turned out well, and I'll show you the ones that didn't like that well. Okay, this one we just made. These are rub-ons, the leaves, and then these are just stickers that I watercolored that I really like. I use those on a lot of projects. And when I put them on, I also use my art glitter glue because the leaves were pretty old and I don't know how well they'd stick. So I did use my art glitter glue under the leaf in any old stickers just to make sure they stick well. But they are doing well. They're doing great on here. This one is rub-ons. This one is rub-ons. And this one is rub-ons. And these are so easy. Actually, my rub-ons are ancient. I think these have the date of 2006 on them, and they're probably close to that old. So I thought they might be dried up, but they weren't, and they work great. And they also, you have to rub. Now this went on really easy. It kind of depends on your rub-ons. These I had to rub a little bit harder, but they did do well, and they're staying on. So I can rub my finger on it. They're fine. They don't rub off. They're on there really well. And now the rhinestones that came in this kit, they come on, the rhinestones came with this particular rub-on, and I did use some Fabri-Tac underneath those to make sure they stayed on and wouldn't come off. So I'm really happy with those, how they turned out. Now this one, I used some butterflies. This was a rub-on that I loved. It looks so real. I'm really happy with that. It's an old one. I have no idea where I got it. But the butterfly was one from Dollar Tree. And after I got it on, I didn't like it because I didn't like all that silver showing. But I did get a paint pen and just touched it up with a paint pen, and kind of covered up some of that silver. So I do like it better now. And this was a tassel that I already had. This was just, I think someone sent me this, and it was, I think it might have been from earrings or keychain. You know, they have all those tassel earrings and keychains, which if you see any of those on sale, they make great little dangles for your bookmarks or tags or whatever you want to use them for in your junk journals. And then this one I made. I'm going to show you in a minute how I made that. It was a very quick, easy thing, but I wanted to point out with this one, I thought that I would try this project with dried flowers, and that didn't work quite as well. I just didn't like the look of the dried flowers. You could see the masking tape over them. I mean, it really showed up that there was masking tape on top. So what I did was I just took some of my markers and I kind of colored over them a little bit to kind of cover up that masking tape look. And then I didn't like the green, what ended up a really bright green. For some reason, in my markers, I didn't have a dull green. I just had the bright green. So I used a little bit of my Distress Oxide over that, which worked really well. But I still am not particularly happy with this one for some reason. Now, just, you know, it's on there. Nothing's coming off. And the flowers stayed on really well, but I didn't like the look. I think there is a way that you can do dried flowers. Maybe you use the clear packing tape. I'm not sure. I know I've seen them somewhere in the past, that there is a way to do them, your dried flowers on your bookmarks. So if you're interested in that, you can probably just do a Google search and come up with it. And this one, I used a little bit of that beautiful ribbon on the top. This one, though, and this one, I made these tassels very quick. It's a very quick and easy project. And that was kind of an accidental discovery, too. I had this fabric that I had been using to make pockets and things in past journals. And the strip I had just kept shredding and shredding like this. It just was... Now, and it didn't do that in my journal because, of course, I had Fabrifix on there and everything. So it worked great in my journal. But the scraps I had left, they just kept shredding and shredding. So any kind of heavy fabric you have like this, that shreds easily, this is a great project for it because I just kept on shredding and shredding. Every now and then you have to keep working at it. I ended up with this little piece. I'll show you what I've got here that I made my tassels out of. This little piece that's what it ended up. I just kept shredding till I just had a little strip at the top and a lovely little fringe. And then what I did was I took my Fabrifix. I'm not going to do that right now because actually my Fabrifix is dried up and I got a new glue and it's not, I have a learning curve with it. It's not working as good for me today. But you could use a Fabrifix, or you could use Eileen's tacky glue, or even your glue gun. I think your glue gun would work. If you're somebody that likes working with a glue gun, that would work good. Just put a little dab there, and when you start, and then just keep rolling, and roll as tightly as you can. Just keep adjusting. Oh, wait, before you do that, I'm sorry, I forgot one of the important parts. You have to have a string in the middle. That's going to be your top to your tassel that you attach it with. So put this string on, and that can kind of just be absorbed down into, it won't show if you put it in the middle so much. So just kind of add it in the middle like that, and then start your project. Add your dot of glue and just keep rolling and rolling. And you're going to roll right over that string. And just keep making sure it's tight. Adjust it, keep adjusting it to make sure it's nice and tight. I don't know what happened, why that's sticking out. Maybe that... Oh, that was just some extra thread, which is confusing. I need to cut that off so that's not in our way. Okay, now I'll try it. So just keep rolling and rolling. Very quick and easy. Make sure that it's tight and just keep rolling. And then you put some glue when you know you're at the end. Put a little bit of glue right there to make it stick. Hold it for a minute till it's nice and stuck. And voila, you've got a tassel. And this, you can cut off this part. There. And then what I did on the other two, I had this little trim which blended really well, so I put another spot of glue and I wrap this around. To just kind of add a little bit more accent here to the top of the tassel. The same thing, just roll it around and glue it in place, and then you got your little tassel. Very simple, very easy. Let's look at these again. I think that was the first one I made. I did this one a little bit thicker, which I liked better. But I'm going to try this with some other fabrics. I think it's a really easy way to make a tassel, and you could kind of match up, coordinate with whatever your design of your journal paper is so that it would match. So that's that idea. As I said, these are fun and easy, and it'd be interesting to play around and see what kind of papers you'd come up with to make them. And then for the final bookmark, I like to give things. So for the final one, I designed a spatial bookmark. The template is going to be in RachandBella Crafts Facebook group. Go to the files section at the top of the page in RachandBella Crafts Facebook group. And when you click on files, you can see all kinds of good, helpful files there. You have to join the Facebook group first, though, but I think you really enjoy that group if you're not a member already. And I've added this template there. And this is some envelope bookmarks that I made. And there's lots of different things you can do with these too. And as I said, I like surprises, so these have surprises inside. There's, this is actually just printed on regular copy paper. Now I did these on cardstock. Really, that light cardstock that I showed you earlier, the Astor Bright, just a lightweight cardstock. And these I just inked and then used a little bit of my markers to highlight the flower. This is already printed on the design if you want to use it. And then I just inked that. This one I did do a stamp on the back and some rub-ons just for an accent. So you can just play around, and because if whatever paper, the backing isn't here, so whatever kind of backing you want, if you want one that you can color and design, or you want to just use some beautiful printed paper to make your backing, just however you want to do it to make them coordinate with your journal. And then I did give a few fussy cuts along with it. This is one of the fussy cuts, and I just cut it out and inked it and glued it on top of some old lace there. This one I just used some old yarn. But the fun thing is they have a little notebook inside, and I just love this collage paper that's in the Botanical Dreams kit that Rachel designed. It goes so well with a lot of different things. And I think, is that a sticker? Yes, I think I added that sticker there just for a little accent. And I stamped. But if you didn't have to use stamps, you could doodle. If you don't have a stamp that you'd like to use, just doodle something or add some stickers, whatever you want inside your little tablet. And then I put an eyelet on the tablet, and I will tell you the measurements of the tablets. Let me see. This one is 6 inches by about, looks like it's by 2 3/8 inches. So 6 by 2 3/8 inches is the average on what I did on my tablets. I wanted them wide enough that when you put them into the envelopes, they wouldn't fall out, because it is supposed to be a bookmark. So it's pretty, if you make them wide enough, they're not going to fall out of here. bookmark. This one, I just used this as a template on the back of my paper. This is some paper that I had done some stamp that had stitches as a design, and I stamped on the collage paper. And actually, I think then I just photographed that so that I'd have it and ran it back through the printer. I don't think this is actually the real stamping, so that I'd have it. And the same with this. I think I just added it then back into my files, and so I could just print it that way. So you don't have to use this design. You can just use it as a template and put it on the back of your paper. You can kind of see it inside there when you look. And use whatever paper you want, and then just cut it out and glue it together. For these, I did enjoy just experimenting with some old pins that I had gotten in a bundle, and some, I think these stamps and the butterfly, those were both in Rachel's kit. And I just glued some together, glued the stamps together, and punched a little hole so that I could use them as a dangle. And then I added some fabric to make it kind of a more of a rustic garden touch. And then this one, this is actually, these two were on cardstock. This one is actually the first one I made, and it's just on the copy paper. And it still turned out pretty good too. And on that, I just used one of the embellishments and did a few little stickers. And I'm not sure if I even have, I know I've got 1 or 2 pages in here. No, I didn't. I just made this just a simple journal space. Because I was just, that's when I was just trying it out to see if it worked. But that works well too. If you don't want to make a tablet, just make a little journal space. Add a few, go through your jewelry or your little junk drawer and find some fun little embellishments to add in. And you've got a fun little bookmark envelope with a surprise inside. So that is my ideas. Here's some I haven't done yet. And on these, I did just put a brad through. And if you wanted to get fancier, you could stitch around the papers before you put the brad through. You can do whatever you want to with them. But this is just a few ideas to get you started and making some fun bookmarks. And of course, there are other shapes of bookmarks, amazing bookmarks. There's corner page bookmarks, there's magnet bookmarks, just all kinds of fun ideas for bookmarks. Just Google bookmarks in YouTube and you'll come up with many, many different kinds, or on Pinterest for that matter. So here are, again, a few of the bookmarks I made. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of these ideas, and if you do some, I would love for you to tag me so I can see what you've done with them. And before we do close off, I want to mention that Rachel is having a wonderful raffle. Usually she's doing an interactive journal this time. She did that with her last collaboration. It was really fun. Everybody loved it. And that's where she makes a journal all month long along with the collaboration. And she lets you help give feedback as to what she puts into the journal and how she makes the journal. So if you want to be part of that, just go read about that or watch her How to Botanical #1 information video where she talks all about that. But on May 1st, this time, instead of having a drawing to give the journal away at the end like she did at the last collaboration, this time she's going to have a raffle. And if you donate to this wonderful charity that she works for, on May 1st, she will, they will have the drawing for the raffle winner, and you could win her beautiful botanical journal. And also the money goes to a wonderful organization. Let me see, I've got it saved here. It is called CIMRU, C-I-M-R-U, and Facebook doesn't, they do the donation processing, but they charge no fees. So all of the money does go to Site Simru, which is, I might not be pronouncing that right, but it is to help those in Wales. That's where Rachel lives, and her mother. They both live in Wales, that run RachandBella Crafts channel and Etsy shop and Facebook group. And they want to donate funds, all funds to be donated to this wonderful charity that helps those who are blind and helps their families. They do all kinds of things, advocacy, emotional support. Anyway, it's a wonderful project. And so if any kind of donation, all donations are helpful that you make, and there will be a link in the description box here for if you would like to donate to that and be in the raffle for Rachel's journal. So I hope that you have enjoyed today's video, and please follow everyone, all these talented artists. If you watch every one of these and make your journal along with them, you're going to have the most fantastic botanical journal when you get finished. Well, thanks for watching. Bye.